This is Mimo. Thank you so much for joining me again for another Pink Room discussion. Honestly, today's discussion is a very difficult one, but a much needed one. With everything going on with the Arbery case, with Minnesota, with the rioting across the country, it's really made me wrestle with the whole concept of justice versus mercy. I am the justice police in our house. My family pokes fun at me, but I just get very indignant when I see injustice. And I really believe there's fair and there's right and there's wrong. And oftentimes they're very, very clear. I love the underdog. I love people on the fringes. And I think a lot of my attitude and the way I am stems from how I was treated as an Asian after the Vietnam conflict. And so as I see everything that's happening around us, I just feel so torn by so many different things. And today's Pink Room discussion, Finding Mercy, is really about my own journey. And as I wrestle with what to do with all that's happening, and how do I set my heart on God in the midst of all of this. Today, we're actually going to look at the woman who was caught in adultery. And we're actually not really going to focus a ton on the women or the teachers or the Pharisees. Today, I actually want to look at the crowd that was present. And hopefully, we can learn something from them that we can apply to what's going on now. We're going to be in John 8, and we're actually going to start in verse 2. And it reads, "At dawn, he appeared again in the temple courts, where all the people gathered around him, and he sat down to teach them." When I think about this group that was present at the temple courts, you think about it, they had to be devoted people, devoted to God. They were there at dawn to worship, probably before they started their day. They wanted to go be in God's presence. I think that is amazing. And so Jesus sits down to teach them. Let's continue on in verse 3 of chapter 8 here. It says, "The teachers of the law and the Pharisees brought a woman caught in adultery. They made her stand before the group and said to Jesus, 'Teacher, this woman was caught in the act of adultery. In the law, Moses commands us to stone such women. Now, what do you say?' They were using this question as a trap in order to have a basis for accusing him. But Jesus bent down and started to write on the ground with his finger." So imagine being one of the people present. I'm sure initially it was probably really shocking as this group of men drags this woman in. And I'm sure everyone's kind of confused about what's happening, what's going on. And then I think when they hear the word adultery, I think it's one of those words that can trigger all of us. And we can think many, many different things, have many, many different reactions. I'm sure there are people there who were indignant about what this woman had done. And because they probably understood the pain that she caused to all the people involved, directly and indirectly. I think some of the people present was probably really upset that here was someone who claims to be a Jew, who claims to love God, and they're ignoring God's law and God's command. And their indignation is just out of zeal for God. I think for others present, it could have brought up guilt or shame, or just triggered those feelings because of their own past choices and decisions. Or, like the Pharisees and the teachers of the law, it was a trap for Jesus. So you have this crowd and you have all these different reactions and all these different people probably making all these different judgments and opinions on what should happen to this woman. And everyone's wondering, what is Jesus going to say? What is Jesus going to do about this? And I love Jesus' response. Here in John 8, we're going to read verses 7 through 9. When they kept on questioning him, he straightened up and said to them, "Let any one of you who is without sin be the first to throw a stone at her." Again, he stooped down and wrote on the ground. At this, those who heard began to walk away one at a time, the oldest ones first, until only Jesus was left, with the woman still standing there. So it says that when the people heard his statement, when Jesus said, "Let any one of you who is without sin be the first to throw a stone at her," they all started to go away one at a time. And you have to kind of ask, so why? I think the amazing thing about Jesus is he caused the crowd to look away from the woman and what she had done and to kind of set their eyes on themselves. He caused them to evaluate. First of all, why did they want to stone the woman? Was it because of their own pain, their own memories, their own past? Was it an agenda, a political agenda, a power agenda? And then he caused them to consider being in her shoes. He made them think about their own bad choices and the decisions that they've made that they might not be very proud of. I think the thing about Jesus and the reason why he can extend mercy, it's because he can empathize with the woman. You know, the scripture talks about we have a high priest who empathizes with us. Jesus understands all of our nuances. And he understood this woman and what drove her to this point in her life. He probably understood why she made the decisions that she did. Now, was it a good decision? Probably not. Was it a right decision? No. But to him, I think this woman was so much more than right or wrong. She existed as a person, as an individual, with a complicated life, having to make some complicated decisions. She wasn't a memory of someone's past. She wasn't a political agenda. She wasn't even a failure in righteousness. Jesus saw her. I think I realized with everything that's been happening is I can watch the news and I can watch the stories and all of these things, and I don't really see people with complicated lives in complicated situations. If anything, I think sometimes these people have become symbols of my past, how I was treated as a young child, being Asian, being mocked, being held responsible for a war that I didn't even know existed. I think these people can be my pain or even my failure at an ideal. They stop existing as individuals, but as these symbols of my life. And I think I want justice because in some way, in some warped way, in the way I think sometimes, I feel like it might just bring me justice, or it might just bring me peace for the things that I have experienced. But I have to think Jesus is saying the same thing to me that he said to the crowd gathered that day. For me to be able to extend mercy, I have to be able to empathize. I have to be like Jesus. There's a quote I want to share. It's by Brene Brown from her book, Dare to Lead. It's a challenging concept. It says, "I know my life is better when I work from the assumption that everyone is doing the best they can." This is hard. Because honestly, I want to believe the opposite. I don't want to believe that people are doing the best they can. You know, I want to just say, well, they're just lazy, or they just don't care, or they don't really want to listen, or they're just full of hate, or they're just a racist. I think that's what I want to believe. That's actually easier to believe sometimes. doing the best they can is hard to believe. Because the truth is sometimes doing the best is not enough. Sometimes it's not even right. But I think that's really not the point of doing the best. The point is, do I believe in the good of people? Do I believe in the potential? Do I believe that people could have good intentions? And when I think about it, it's what's so convicting to me is that that's what Jesus believes about me. Now, have I messed up? Yes. Too many times sometimes, I think. Have I done things in desperation that I'm not proud of? Absolutely. Especially under stress and duress, I've reacted in ways that I am so ashamed of sometimes. Have I given in to the same sin over and over again? Yes, I have. But the amazing thing is Jesus constantly and consistently extends grace to me. Not because I'm great or I'm perfect or any of those things, but because he knows that I'm trying to do the best I can. And honestly, is it enough sometimes? No. Is my best even right sometimes? No. But he believes in what I could be, in what I could be. He believed in what this woman could become. Truthfully, the biggest issue with me when it comes to mercy is I feel like people won't learn if there aren't consequences or if they're not punished. And sometimes I feel like people get a get out of jail free card when we extend them mercy. But for those of you who are like me, I do want to point something out that I never realized before until I started studying this out in light of this pink room discussion. It's in John 8, verse 11. It says, and this is Jesus speaking to the woman, "Then neither do I condemn you," Jesus declared. "Go now and leave your life of sin." Jesus didn't condemn her, but he also didn't take away the consequences of her decision. She still had to face the people that was in that crowd that day as she went about the city. It wasn't like it just got wiped away and no one remembers. If anything, I'm sure more people remember. Was she married? Did she have children? She still had to deal with the damage that she had done to those relationships, to her family, to her friends. And the reality was, even if she changed and she left her life of sin, it would still always be a part of her. It wasn't something that she could pretend that just didn't happen. There will always be consequences for our decisions, for people's decisions. Of course, some are bigger than others. I think I realized I don't have to be the judge, the jury, or the executioner. I think life is much better at it than I am. But what I can do, I can empathize and I can extend mercy in hopes that by doing that, they will see Jesus through me. I hope this helps you. Thank you so much again.